Hello, my name is Karim, and I'm going to be talking about invasive species and the problems they can cause to our ecosystem and our life. When I was younger, I was fascinated by animals, but there's a certain kind of species that really annoyed me. They were invasive species. These animals kept stealing environments because they took over and ruined my favorite animals. I had no idea how they came to be, but the only idea of them is I had of them is I hated them. When I grew up, I started to study these animals. At the moment, I've seen that it's not the animals' fault that they're trying to survive, but humans create invasive species, either by accident or on purpose. Most come from accidents, and I have a lot of info on these animals to share with you today. One example of creating an invasive species by an accident are zebra mussels. These little cell-looking things have zebra designs and they can stick on stuff, most likely sips. Another way they get to new places is that humans have a full part of water under their sip to get on the right height and balance so it won't sink. This method is very popular in sips, and when they do this, they just use seawater since it doesn't cost anything and it's like there's no downfall from it. When they do this, they pick up native species while trying to get the seawater. Then they go to the new location, empty the water, and then leave to new environments. That makes some species invasive and become a bigger problem than they already are. However, some species are brought from one place to another because of how they look. One invasive species that was brought for its beauty is the kudzu vine. This vine was so beautiful that the Americans brought it from Japan and it came to South America, taking over everything. And it was soon going to the southern United States in the year 1876. It was brought to the South for gardens and such more, but this was a fatal mistake because the kudzu vines kept growing and growing, so they got the nickname of the vine that ate the South. This vine can mostly be found everywhere in the southern United States, sometimes stuck on structures and buildings. As you can see, these species are a huge problem. Another example is the Burmese python, an Asian python that was brought into California for an exotic pet. Once it got big, they threw it out in the wild, making it a vicious predator, able to eat most native animals without a predator to eat them. You can see how big of a problem it can be because it could cause extinction for some animals. What's a forest if there's no animals? This disaster isn't only invading California, it's also invading Florida. We need to solve these problems. These species create before they get a lot worse. So aren't there ways to solve these species? There's another invasive species that you might know. It's a marine animal called lionfish. These fish have venomous spiky spines and they keep traveling to new places because people bring these animals by ship for restaurants in other parts of the world. If the ship sinks, the lionfish can be free and go to a new environment quickly. And is there a solution for them? Yes, there is. People have made robots that keep tasing the lionfish, then sucking them in a compartment and bringing them up to ships or lands. For invasive plants, people can just remove them and plant native flowers of garden and find ways to protect the native animals and flowers. And do you know what's the most invasive species in Malaysia at the moment? Alligator weed. Alligator weed is a plant that looks pretty but is deadly to the environment. These plants are growing very fast in places that are near rice. And my link and I got invasive species can either be a good or bad thing since they are edible. Some of them are, but some of them can use to make stuff. But some of them are just completely useless. The ones that are useless can easily ruin ecosystems and food chains. Some mess it up by becoming the predator, or mess the predators up by eating their prey. and soon a forest of life will become a terrible place. What do you think you can do to help? One way to help is to donate to Nasian. Nasian is a kind of charity that helps native animals with the money given to them. You could buy a bit of seeds and plant them in your garden if you have one. If you have food for birds and animals, you can just give them the food. To feed these species, like a little piece of seed, can make such a big effect to the environment. Just by seeing these species hurt the world hurts me. I've realized that animals and the environment aren't perfect, but they're not the worst place to live in. Through my research, I've seen animals die and environments taking over. So let's try and stop it. Thank you.